occupancy rate would you take? And geez, I lost my train of thought there.
Imagine that.
Hey, you're not helping. You're not helping. Would you buy buildings just based on the fact that you can buy them so far below replacement value, and just work out the other problems as the second priority?
In a sense, I think Steve's done a little bit of that with Charter Palms. However, I think there's also a cash flow play there as well, because a new management technique, style, approach needs to be put in place there immediately. So there's a cash flow play, and there is a land play through something like this. Absolutely.
So there's 3 plays. If there was only 1 play, would you still do it?
1 play increases your risk. So you got to know your market, you got to know your property, and you got to know your owner. Knowing your property is going to tell you what plays there are on the property. Okay? Very good questions, though. Expiration date. I want you to put some thought into this. If it's 2012 today, I'm going to at least give it 3 years, at least. If I can get 6, great. If you can get 10, even better. The longer, the better with options. You're just giving your property more time to season and appreciate, okay? Non-refundable option consideration. The consideration you put up, the $10,000, the $5,000, the $2,000, the $20,000, the $100,000, is going to be non-refundable. That's going to be a risk that you're going to have to put into play. And make sure that it is signed by both parties. It's a legal contract. You've got a contract on that does not need to be recorded, by the way. That's why it's so important to work to either check periodically with the owner, check with the title company, that type of thing. But if that property is sold, guess what? In that period of time of your option, you hope they have title insurance on it, because you know you're going to get paid then. You know, we just talked earlier today about the U.S. being litigious. Here I am telling you to turn that in, because that's a claim, though. That's not a lawsuit yet, but it's a claim, okay? How many people would think about doing an option in their market? Just show of hands. Okay, more different people than the first one. Good. Let's talk about a lease option or sandwich lease. Interesting enough, we're talking about this after lunch, sandwich lease, but let me explain what this is. Let's say that you're on the other side of this now, and let's say you've bought a property, which many of you have. Remember, I always say that you need to think about your exit strategy that's in place. Well, this is something that I want you to consider. Mostly all of you have properties, and for those of you that are having properties in which you feel like you're struggling a little bit in, we all have these properties, one of the remedies of that struggle, I think, would be a lease option. And the reason that I think it's so valuable today, now this would be for an owner that, forget about having no money or some money, this would be for an owner that already owns the property. So what you become then is a marketer. You switch hats from an investor to a marketer. And really, you're always marketing as an investor, but this is probably more pure marketing than the other two so far. And what this is if you're struggling with a property, let's talk about how our exit strategy involves taking our tenant and giving them home ownership sometime in the future. Okay? Home ownership sometime in the future. So, the lease option portion of this is going to be a scenario where you go to your tenant and the tenant wants to buy your property. But either because they don't have the down payment or they don't have the credit to buy that from you, you're going to say, listen, I'll tell you what, let's agree upon a price, and in 3 or 4 years with this single family house, you'll pay me out. But during that 3 or 4 year period, I'll let you pay me a little bit of elevated rent. Notice the description that I said there, elevated rent, and a portion of that elevated rent will be applied as your down payment. until we get to 3% if it's an FHA situation, or 5% or 10%, whatever. You're also going to take a lease option fee, and that's the option consideration right there. It's a fee to allow you to do a lease option. Let's go to an example. Let's say that we've got a $70,000 property, and you know in 4 years that that property is going to go up in value. You can use realtor statistics, you can bring in a CMO or a BPO, or you guys all know what that is by now, right? After the first couple days. Or an appraisal, or a broker from the market, in which they're going to say, hey, this property is probably going to be worth in 4 years $125. Nice bit of appreciation there, okay? Maybe 5 years, just once you get the overall thing. So from 70 to 125, that is $55,000. You're going to ask for a lease option fee. I would say to make that lease option fee healthy, not $500, not $1,000, but north of $3,000. You decide, north of $3,000 on a $70,000 house. You're going to take that, let the buyer know, or the person that's leasing that is non-refundable. But that will give them the right to pay elevated rent. Huh? Do you like how I put that? This lease option fee is going to give you the right to pay me an elevated rent. Then you just smile. Boy, do I sound like a real ass, don't I? I want you to state it in those terms, because the person that you're giving the lease option to is going to say, well, what do you mean elevated rent? Well, here's the program with this. In 4 years, that elevated rent is going to serve a purpose. And by giving me elevated rent over the next 4 years, we're actually going to create your down payment for this property. It's a Christmas savings plan, if you will. You guys have those, right, in Canada? Christmas savings plan? Savings account? No? Some do? Okay. It's a forced savings program for the down payment. Now, if they don't buy the house, that elevated payment, the little payment that was going towards down payment, you can decide to give that back to them if they don't buy. The lease option fee, the consideration, non-refundable. Sorry about that, but that's non-refundable. It's just how it goes. But remember, just like we talked about in the first technique, this technique you really need to get a hook. And the hook is, I'm building in a program in which you're going to have not have to worry about the down payment in 4 years at all. And I would direct you, or direct that person probably to an FHA loan, first-time home buyers, credit score of over 620. If their credit score is 590, hey, I'm going to work whatever I can do to get that credit to 620 in 4 years. How we help them. I give them literature, make sure that, that type of thing. But I want to get their credit score up so they can buy that house at $125,000. I've already got $3,000 of their money, and in 4 years I'm getting $125,000. So I've made $55,000 plus $3,000, $58,000 on my $70,000 house. I may have some equity in it there as well. That's a pretty nice payday, right? So that's kind of how a lease option works. A sandwich lease option is a little bit different. We're going to be talking about this a little bit more tomorrow. This was on your agenda. A sandwich lease option, sometimes called a master lease option, is used for investment property like multifamily. Let's say that you've got a 20-unit building, and you don't have the money to buy that 20-unit building. This, again, would be another technique that if you don't have any money, you could use. So a master lease option would work this way. You're going to lease from the owner all 20 units. And those 20 units are going to lease from you. So therein lies the sandwich, right? You're going to have 2 lease agreements there. One with the tenant to you, and one with you to the owner. You don't own the property during that master lease or sandwich lease option, but you do what? control it. A lot of these techniques, we can't own them yet because we don't have the money, but we don't care about that because we want the control. Now here's where I like using the master lease option. It's okay to use on a duplex, a 4-unit, a 6-unit, stuff like that, but I really like to use, and I've done it one time, on properties that are bigger in nature, larger units. Let's say that we've got 400 units. Let me show you how this would work. It's a very cool technique, by the way. Let me switch my screen. Let's say that we've got 400 units here, and those units, I'm sorry, forget the dollar amount, 400 units, and those units have an average rent of $750 per month. So if you took 400, someone have a calculator up here? Take 400 times 750 and you get what? 300,000. Now, I know we've got to add vacancy factor and all of that, but this is something, I want you to get the overall theory here. $300,000, a lot of money, right? Well, let's say that the owner is sick. Like in Steve's case, the owner was sick. And the owner maybe wants to retire. I think that was a combination with Charter Palms, that the owner wanted to retire as well. So they get themselves of the burden of ownership / property management. Does everybody get that? You come in as the hero, the hero of our story, right? Could be Sarah, right? Go Sarah. Could be Gilbert. You're just as good a hero as Sarah is, right? Maybe not as good looking, but you're just as good of a hero. So you go in and say, listen, I've got a plan. I'm going to buy this listen to my language. I'm going to buy this property from you. I'm just not going to buy it right now. But I can take care of your problem. I know you've come across some illness. I know that you're looking to retire. Here's my plan. I'd like to lease this property from you, and I will close in 180 days. In other words, you're going to put a sales contract in place that you're closing in 180 days. But during those 180 days, you want to lease the property from him, take control. Now, an attorney should write this up for you because there's some caveats that you should have in there and some concerns the owner of the property is going to have. So those need to be mitigated by an attorney. Get the overall thought here. So at $300,000 per month, that's a lot of money, a lot of money. If you're going to close this property in 6 months and you absolutely have no money today, no money, this is another technique. Write this down in the no money category. See a lot of you writing. What's the deal with that? So this is what you can use today. You go in, you manage the property. Now, number one, let's write to the side, you're going to take a management fee. Let's just say 4%. What's 4% of 300,000? What is it? 12,000, right? Everybody see that? So instantly, you've just given yourself a $12,000 monthly income. Now you're going to have a management team there. For 400 units, you're probably going to have 8 employees. But for $12,000 a month, hopefully you can pay those 8 employees out of that and keep a little cash flow for yourself. You're able to manage that yourself without a license because you have what? An equitable interest in the property. That's how we get around the licensing situation. Because in the United States, when you're managing a property for somebody else, you need to be licensed to do so. So now you've just created an income for yourself. By the way, if 400 units is scaring you, start with 100. I don't care where you're starting. I want you to get the thought here. The other thing that's interesting is, let's back up a little bit and go macroeconomics here. What's happening with regard to the country on home ownership? Do you think there's more people buying houses today or less people buying houses today? Less, without a doubt. If you look at the supply and demand category of multifamily units, you would see nationally in every metro, with few exceptions, rents are increasing. And I would say by a pretty healthy clip, 4%, or close to it to be exact. 4%. Now, 4 isn't a very big number, but the way apartments are evaluated, you're going to learn this in Chicago, it is absolutely huge with this technique right here. Check this out. I almost sounded like Chris Angel. My next trick, I'm going to levitate. Check this out. Oh, wait, I got a magic trick for you, too. Don't let me forget that. Don't let me forget that. So, you lease the property. You get full control, but you don't have ownership per se, but you do have an equitable interest because you have a sales contract. You're closing in 180 days. You have to focus on what? Let me say that again. You have to focus on what? Financing, but more so, what's more specific? Bring up the value more specific. NOI? No, you're closing in 6 months. You have to focus on, thank you, down payment. Who said that? Yes, Peter. Down payment. Down payment comes first because raising the NOI and the other stuff, you're going to see fall right into line here. I'm glad you said all those things. You want to focus on down payment. Write this down. To do the impossible, you have to see the invisible. This isn't a, I see dead people. You know what I'm saying? But to do the impossible, you got to see the invisible. Check this out. I raise rents at 4% across the board. Now, I know that some leases may be longer than 6 months. Just get the overall theory here. 4% of, let's just do it 4% of 75 bucks. Raphael, what is that?
75 or 750?
750, I'm sorry.
$30.
30 bucks, okay. I want you to get that knowledge. All those tenants there, I'm going to raise their rent by 30 bucks. 30 bucks. In my mind, when I raise rent, what goes through my mind is, can the tenant absorb the rental increase? 30 bucks. For a tenant to move from there, either they're going to move themselves or they're going to hire a mover. 360 bucks extra for the year. Would a tenant do that? Yes or no? Maybe some, but I would say no. That might be right on the cusp. So 30 bucks. I'm going to raise their rent $30. If I extrapolate that over the whole 300,000, how much is that? 12,000. Everybody see that? So I've given myself an instant raise of $12,000 a month. I'm making 12 from the management fee. Now I'm making additional 12 that I put all in my pocket because I still have those same 8 employees. 400 units, about 4 for management, 4 for maintenance. Rule of thumb. So now I'm making 24 grand. Yes, Jerry.
Who's on the hook for empty suites?
What's that?
Who's on the hook for empty suites?
We know that there's going to be vacancy there, and that would of course be you because you have control, but we know that, but we're not going to worry about that right yet. I just want you to get the overall theory here. Cool? But good point. Good point. So we're at can everybody see the benefit of this technique just from here, just from this point here? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, everybody's got this? This is not what makes me most excited. By the way, you've just created income for yourself, right? At least 12 grand coming into your pocket a month, probably a clip of the other 12 grand, say 14. Again, $14,000 a month in your pocket, not enough to live on, but a good start. That's a joke, people. Okay? So that's not what excites me most. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to take that 12,000 and annualize it, and you get what? 144,000. Let me raise that up, sorry. 144,000. Now, do you want to see your down payment be created right in front of your eyes? Check this out. Let's just go with the average cap rate of 7.5. So 0.075. Raphael, if you could please figure that for me. 144,000 divided by the market cap rate of 7.5. The value increase of this property would be 1,920,000 bucks. No, I'm not kidding you. Now, again, if this number's too big for you, cut it in half. Cut it in a third, wherever you feel most comfortable. But I'm trying to show you this technique because this is how you can create your own down payment. It doesn't have to be 400 units, it could be 40. So cut this number by 10. You've just increased the value by 190,000. And that, my friends, is what you're going to use as your down payment. Now, how many people are going to use that technique? You like that? Right on. He's like, that's right on, right on. So this is a technique, again, out of the, how many have we gone through? 3, 4? This is a technique that you can use with no money. If you have no money, I'm implementing this. Now, it's just the way the numbers worked out that I might be frightening you that it's 1.9 million, but again, cut the numbers by 10. Make it 190,000. Yes?
This might be a stupid question.
Hold on one second. Let me do this. Come a little bit closer, Trudy, to the mic, and talk right into the mic for me.
All right, this might be a stupid question of the day. But how is it that you get that $12,000 on a closing that's 6 months ahead? Aren't you just making money for the existing owner? How can you count on it?
Great, Trudy. I'm glad you asked that question. And you ran away from me. What's the deal with that, Trudy? I was coming to hug you. Thanks. Heather's out of the room. I thought I might as well just get a hug in. All right. Hey, you know what? Let's do it in the spot. Wait, you're teasing me now. You're a teaser. All right, let's do it in the spotlight, though. Right in the spotlight. Come on. Right here.
Oh, I forgot
Okay.
we were being
Yeah.
taped. I'm sorry.
Yes. All right. Wonderful. Okay. So Trudy's question, which was a great one, how do we get that 12 grand and no one else does? Why? Anybody know? Because we have the control. We have a sales contract in on the property, but also we're doing a sandwich lease. We now have control. So during that 6-month period, all of those things that we implement to either drive income or lower expenses, we get to keep. And during that 6 months, we just created our own down payment. Valerie.
Okay, the 12,000 you multiplied by 12, but we're going to close in 6 months. So why wouldn't it be half of it?
Great point. Then that was my oversight. I get one of those a year and I just used it. 6 months. So cut this number in half. What is that? 960? Okay, so 960. Is that better, Valerie?
Yes.
Okay. Valerie, of all the people in here, Valerie would have caught that, and I'm glad she did. Valerie's a gold, for those of you that don't know. I've known it for a long time. But that's great, absolutely. So we've created $960,000 in down payment on this one, but that's for 400 units. You know, forget about the 400 units. What if you've got a 30 unit right down the street from you? What if you've got a 20 unit right down the street from you? What if you have a 6 unit that you've seen recently? Iggy. You know what I'm saying, Iggy? Right? 6 unit. Create your own down payment. Control. Right? So when somebody says, I don't have any money, to buy real estate, all I say is congratulations, because you just identified your starting point, right? Most people look at that as a negative. I say, great, you've just now identified your resources or lack thereof. Now it's time to get to work, right? Literally, it's time to get to work. If you don't have the money, you just create it. And it's not easy, don't get me wrong. It's effort. And you got to be creative in your thought, you got to take action, but you can create your own down payment. There's no doubt about it. Okay? It comes down to those numbers that we worked, 100, 10, 3, 1. Remember that? Instead of 20, 10, 5, 1. You got to look at a lot of deals. But yesterday, on that deal, I'm thinking, I'd tie this thing up, and if I didn't have any money, I would do a sandwich lease on it right now, because there's 2 units vacant there. In 6 months, I'm so glad you did that, Valerie, by the way, 6 months. You're my all-star for the day, by the way. 6 months. Why is 6 months critical? When I say I'm going to close in 6 months, why did I say that on this type of property? There's a reason that I said 6 months. Wow. Hold on 1 second. Throw it up right there, man. Throw it up. He said stabilizing. An appraiser commercially, 5 units and over, needs to see stabilized income for 6 months to get that increase in value. So when you go to a commercial mortgage broker, not residential, but for commercial, and you sit down with them and you say, listen, I'm looking to buy a 6 unit. And it's interesting for me because I know the struggles for some of you, and I'm trying to have some of you read between the lines here, so to speak. But Charles, Iggy, but I want you to know, if this 6 unit, when I call a mortgage broker commercially, guess what? When I tell them I'm Canadian and I don't have a Social Security number, it's okay. It's okay. Because they're not conforming to Fannie or Freddie most of the time. They're not conforming to FHA or HUD. Their loans come from Wall Street, it comes from insurance companies, it comes from somebody else. So if I had no money, that's not going to stop me from investing, and that's not going to stop me from making some income until I close that property. Create your own opportunity here. Got it.
You have to have the owner agree to that, right?
Really? You really asked that question?
How do you get the owner to agree to that?
Right. Good question. Let me ask you this. That property, I don't know the story with the owner, but I do. You do, though.
It's fully no note on it, full pay.
There's no note on it.
No.
Right. So when you have a property with no note on it, doesn't that even open the door more? Way more. Who said way? Steve? Okay, Charles. Way more, yes. But why does he want to sell? I'm going to keep having you get up and down until you just grab the mic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you want to sell because older and doesn't want to get involved in this anymore. Sold the property before.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Do you see what just happened there? What happened there was the owner was a tennis player, and he's like this, and you're the racket. He took the ball, and he threw it up in the air, and the ball's perfect to where you take the racket, and you follow through and smash it over the net to get an ace. I have never played tennis in my life. But do you get my point, what I'm trying to say? No mortgage. The guy's tired of property management.
Doesn't want seller financing.
He doesn't want seller financing. Great. Even better, because now you don't have to bug him with that. So what do you do now? What do you do?
Master lease?
Sandwich lease. I need 6 months to close, and during my due diligence, I want to lease the property from you. I'll give you all the rents without the headache. I'll pay all the expenses without the headache. And I'm going to pay them through a servicing company, so you know all those expenses and your payment are paid. You saw that earlier, right? You're not writing this down? Come on, man. Iggy. You see Iggy next to him? Iggy's not even looking at his partner anymore. He's just writing this down. He's like, I'm going to put in an offer right now on this thing. You see my point? Do you see it? You can get into that property with very little money down, if at all. Create your own down payment, but you want control. You don't want necessarily ownership there. Yes?
Okay, but when you promise him all the rents for the next 6 months, you only want to promise him the existing rents.
The existing rents. That's right. Absolutely. Anything additional, and that's going to be in your contract, is going to be yours. Right? Okay? You don't sound excited about that, my friend. Are you excited about that? I would be. I'd be going, at break, I'd be making a call. It's already made. Okay. Yes, Dallas.
Okay, I'm just a little off topic now, but...
A little off topic. Why would we go off topic, Dallas?
Sorry, it's not off.
He's like, what do you think the weather's going to be like tomorrow, John? Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Okay, you said that the state of Texas now all of a sudden isn't a big fan of the lease option or the sandwich lease option, but I mean there's amazing markets in that state. So with the opportunities that lie in your Houstons and your Dallases and Austin, San Antonio, this could be a really good opportunity to do that.
You can't do it in Texas. Against the law.
Oh, so it's written, it's law.
It's law. You can't do lease options in Texas.
Okay.
So I wouldn't do this because you'll get fined. Right?
Yeah, no.
And or worse.
I didn't know it was
Yeah, we don't do them in Texas. Gilbert, how much do we get fined per day?
It's $200.
It's $200 a day fine in Texas. Just so that you know. You can't do it in Texas. Yes?
You've used the terminology, sandwich lease.
Yes.
Master lease. Are they the same?
Synonymous.
So anytime, I thought when I was looking on leases, and I thought it was Houston, but I could have been wrong. I thought I'd seen a master lease in there.
No, lease options are not used in Texas. It's against the law there, but maybe they were talking in some other fashion. But master lease option and sandwich lease, same thing. Yep. Very good question. Gilbert.
It would work in Texas.
It would work.
Yes.
How?
The reason it would work in Texas because you can do it for 179 days.
Okay, you're absolutely right. Gilbert is saying you can do it for a shortened time frame, 179 days. So in this example, you could actually do this as long as you did that within the 179-day period. Very good. Very good.
1 day short of 6 months.
1 day short of 6 months.
Why wasn't he not standing up?
Well, that's because Gilbert's a maverick. You know what I mean? So, yes, you're right. There's a little bit of a... Valerie, yes.
But if you need 180 days to stabilize income, to be able to show you with the financing from the bank, how does that benefit?
Yeah, I mean, you're a day short. You're a day short. So I'm hoping that appraiser is not going to be a gold as much as maybe you are. Right, Edward? You're a day short. You're a day short. So I'm hoping that appraiser is going to be a little bit flexible with that. But how many people think about using this technique? Not on 400 units, but on 10. Absolutely, you should be looking at that. Absolutely. And that's a great one if you have no money. Yes?
Just real quick, can you explain how on closing, how much is a check going to be for? Like, because that money was just created, so how do you physically get that money?
Well, we never talked about purchase price or anything like that, but that money that's created, you can use as equity. So when you couldn't do that on a residential loan. Commercial loan, though, you're going to have an equitable interest in that property. You could, you're going to use that equity as part of your down payment, maybe all of it, depending on what your lender requirements are. Okay?
No.
Well, Tom.
Well, if I'm the seller and you're doing this and I want, I need, well, we didn't talk price like you said, but, okay, let's say you created that much money and let's say I want $500,000 down payment. You don't physically have that money in 6 months, right?
Right. You've created some of it. So in the case that you just said where the down payment's $500,000, And in this particular case, you've created about half of that as equity, okay? Do you see that or no?
How do I get my $500,000 on closing?
Because your lender is going to say, we're going to give you 80% of the appraised value. Your appraised value, you've just increased by, in that case, $2 million. Okay, it makes sense now. You got it. Okay. You've done the work to increase the value. Does everybody see that? You did the work there. You deserve that increased cash flow. You deserve that new value. Is anybody not clear on that? Okay, that's a powerful technique. If you've got no money, use it on smaller commercial buildings. I'd be doing that right now. Right now. If you had no money or little money, I'd be implementing that right now. What's that? Even if you have money, Pierre says, right? Absolutely.